Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to be going over what I think are the top 5 farmable champs. I had someone request a video of this nature a while back, and I wanted to go ahead and get it made. So real quick before I get into it, this is just what I think are the top 5 farmable champs. I'm not going to rank them in order. One, because it's difficult to do because they serve different purposes, so it can be kind of hard to rank them overall. And two, because I don't want to argue about it. And anytime you start ranking champs in a particular order, people want to argue about it, and I don't want to argue about it. So these are just what I think are the top 5 farmable champs. So I'm going to pull them up, where you can farm them from. I'm going to talk about them a little bit, why I think they're good, what I think you could do with them, and things of that nature. If there's not a how to build video out on them yet, there will be soon. I am working my way through the champs, and I think I'm about halfway through all the rares right now as of recording this. So if there's not a how to build up for the champ that you're interested in, there will be soon. If there is, I'll link it in the description. Also, another real quick note. These are just the top 5. There are quite a few uncommons that I think are pretty decent, and there are other rares that you can farm that I think are good. I'm not going to be going over all of them in this video, but if you want to see them put to use, I am also doing a free-to-play farmer-only account called Adventures of the Pauper, is the series I'm doing, and it's on my YouTube channel as well. So I'll link down to the first episode of that in the description as well. So if you want to check any of that out, you're able to, and maybe as I get the how to builds recorded for these other champs, I'll come back and put them in the description so that they're down there for everybody. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump into it. At number, again, I'm going to use them as though they're ranked, but they're not actually ranked. But I've kind of got Valerie and Berserker kind of on the same thing when I was trying to rank them. They were kind of tied for number 5, so I'm going to talk about both of them. You know what? Screw it. I'm just going to go by what I had the original ranking by. And if you want to fight about it, fine, let's fight about it. Valerie and Berserker are tied at number 5. So let's talk about Valerie real quick. Now, first skill, simple attack, nothing too fancy. Second skill, Ascended, increases the duration of all buffs on all allies by 1 turn. Also decreases the duration of all debuffs on all allies by 1 turn. Places a 25% attack buff on all enemies. On all allies for 2 turns. So that's a lot going on in one skill. That is pretty nice, and that can be very handy, especially earlier in the game when you're looking for these farmable champs. She's extending buffs, she's reducing debuffs, which in some cases is just going to be a cleanse, because they're only going to be on you for 1 turn. And then it's an attack buff for the whole team. So a lot going on in that skill. And then her third skill places a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns. The value of the shield depends on this champion's level. Heals each ally according to the number of buffs they are currently under. So she extends buffs, which increases the likelihood that she's going to heal with buffs on you. So she's just bringing a lot to a fight. She's a great little support champ that you can pick up real quick from the first stage in the campaign. Very easy to get, not really that hard to build. You really just need speed and HP on her. Honestly, she really doesn't need much more beyond that. So she's pretty easy to build, she's pretty easy to obtain, and she's going to offer a lot of value. If you've seen my videos on beginner clan boss, she's the support that I came in and farmed. The rest of the team were uncommons and commons, and she was the support that I came in and farmed to take in with him. So I think pretty highly of Valerie. I think she's a pretty solid champ, and I think you could take her anywhere. She could be part of your campaign team as you're trying to push through and beat levels in campaign. If you decided you wanted to try to push into the dungeons a little bit, she's going to be great support there. You know, she's even going to be decent support in arena earlier in the game, so you can kind of take her everywhere. So she's got a lot of utility, very easy to get, very easy to build. I think she's a pretty fantastic champ. So she's tied at number 5. Honestly, the way I talk about her, she should probably be higher. But that, again, that comes with the struggle of trying to rank someone. Beyond that, we have Berserker, who is in the Deadlands. And I think it's just, as far as damage dealers go, you're going to have to be a little bit later in the game, and you're already going to have your starter champ that's going to be doing substantial damage for you. But if you get into a situation where you want to start to run 2 damage dealers, or maybe you want to run a different type of damage dealer, you want to do some different things with a different damage dealer, I do think this guy's pretty solid. He's just got a lot going on. I think his kit is very fitting for the fact that he's a Berserker. He attacks one enemy, fills his champion's turn meter by 30% if the attack is critical. So right there, right off the bat, we've got a third of his attack meter filled back up if he crits. That's pretty nice. Second skill, attacks one enemy, grants an extra turn if the target is killed. So we got a little bit of like a mini relic keeper type situation going on if he kills somebody with this skill, which is probably not going to be super hard to do because it's a second skill, which means the multiplier is going to be decent anyway. And I expect actually on him that his multipliers are going to be solid enough. I have not tested him yet. I do plan to on the free-to-play account once I get up to this level and farm one, but so we'll know for sure. I haven't used them yet though. And then his third skill is an AoE, attacks all enemies twice, and then once you get him ascended, it ignores 20% of each target's defense. So you know, he's going to be able to help out in Spider. He's going to be a nice arena offense cleave type nuker. He's going to be able to help you through campaign. He's going to be able to help you through the dungeons as far as wave clearing and then doing damage to the boss. So he's another one that I think offers pretty widespread utility. I probably wouldn't take him into clan boss, but beyond that, I feel like you could probably take him anywhere. Except maybe, I guess, Clan Boss and Fire Knight I wouldn't take him into. Everywhere else I feel like he's got some utility, especially early in the game. As you progress through the game, he might start to fall off a little bit. You pull better champs. You know, you find someone that can stand in his place. But earlier in the game, I think he's going to be fantastic. And like I said, I plan to put it to the test with the free-to-play account once I get to a point where I can farm him. So those two I kind of have tied at number 5. Now, let's go here. And at number 4, we have Templar. I think Templar is a really, really cool champ. He's a defense champ, and he scales off of defense, which is always nice to see in this game. Sometimes they do weird stuff. They make a defense champ that scales off of attack, but they kind of look like they're designed to do damage too. That is not the case with Templar. So let's talk about his kit real quick. First skill, attacks one enemy, has a 30% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. Damage inflicted is proportional to defense. So here we have a first turn speed break, which is going to be nice in most dungeons. Anytime you can put a slow on a dungeon boss, it's going to help you because it's going to kind of help you turn cycle more around the boss. More turns for you is always better. More opportunities to place debuffs, more opportunities to heal, more opportunities to do damage. So that's going to be really nice there. Obviously, you can't place a slow on the clan boss, so I don't know that he's got a ton of utility there. But as far as dungeons in general, as pertaining to bosses, I think he's going to be pretty useful because of that skill. Then his second skill is actually really cool. It attacks 4 times at random. Each hit has a 25% chance of placing a provoke debuff for 1 turn. Places a block damage buff on this champion for 1 turn. Damage inflicted is proportional to defense. So there's a lot going on here. One, he gets to attack. Potential AoE, right? It could hit the same target 4 times. It could spread out and hit each target once. You don't really know what it's going to do, but there's potential for AoE provoke. So 1, it's an attack. 2, it's got a pretty solid chance of placing the provoke, 25% chance each, and then he places a block damage buff on himself so that everybody that is provoked to him isn't going to be able to hurt him, because him using this skill is going to reset his attack bar, which means that the enemies are probably going to be relatively close to having a turn, at least more likely to get a turn before he gets another one, which means they're not going to do any damage to him unless they have like an ignore block damage on their first skill, which is not super common. That's not running rampant in the game. So it's going to be a pretty effective skill to have, and it's going to be nice everywhere, especially early in the game. It's going to help you out in campaign. It's going to help you in the dungeon waves on your way to the boss. It's going to be really nice for arena earlier in the game. It's pretty helpful across the board, honestly. Again, probably not a clan boss champ, but beyond that, pretty useful. And then once you get him ascended, he gets a passive, attacks with this champion's default skill whenever an enemy places a debuff on this champion. So again, pretty nice, pretty useful. And his default skill has potential to put a decreased speed. So anywhere, if there's a dungeon boss that puts a debuff, like dragons is pretty debuff heavy, this has he has a potential to well, there's not potential, he's going to do it. He's going to counterattack and potentially put a speed break on the dragon. Again, nice in arena. Especially if he uses this and puts provokes on some people, and then some people have some first turn debuffs, like a poison or an attack break. Basically anything other than a defense break is going to be nice because it's not really going to hurt his damage unless it's like a first turn freeze or sleep or something like that. But pretty cool kit, pretty useful kit, pretty unique kit. And then the resist in arena, you can give that a shot if you want to, if you don't feel like you have any other better leader skills. But you know, generally you're not running a resist lead. You're trying to get HP, speed, something along those lines. But it is nice. It's pretty substantial. 50 is pretty substantial. So pretty cool kit and pretty wide utility. I think he's going to be a pretty good champ, and you could probably use him for a pretty good bit. This second skill is going to come in handy for you a lot. So especially on an arena defense where RNG, the more RNG sometimes you can work into an arena defense, the more frustrating it can be because you can't really plan for it. If you don't know who he's going to land his provokes on, and you can't outspeed him, you know, if you can't outspeed the team that he's on, it can get kind of aggravating. So pretty cool champ. I think he's well worth being on this list of top 5. At number 3, we have my personal favorite. I could not put her at number 1, no, as much as I would like to. But my personal favorite farmable champ overall is War Maiden. I am a big fan of War Maiden. If you've seen my arena cleave for beginners, you've heard me sing in her praises. If you've heard me talk about her in stream, I am a really big fan of War Maiden. And so we'll talk about why. Her first skill, attacks one enemy, 30% chance of placing a poison debuff for 1 turn. So nothing crazy going on here. Some super early game clan boss utility if you wanted to use her there, but that's not really where her money's at, to be honest. Second skill, attacks one enemy, places a 50% increased attack buff on this champion, and places an extra hit if the attack is critical. The extra hit cannot be critical. Again, this is kind of a cool skill, not where her money's at. Where her money is at is right here. Once you get her ascended, attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. AoE defense break is crucial in some cases, and for her to have a 75% chance straight out of the gate to place a 60% defense break on all enemies once you get her ascended, which is not really that difficult, and then to skill her up, you can get her to 100%, which means it's solely reliant on accuracy. That's crucial. That's fantastic. I only stopped using her when I pulled Zargala. I feel like Zargala is the upgrade to her that makes sense, unless you pull a Ghostborn or something along those lines, but maybe a Spider, something like that. But AoE defense break is nice, and this is a farmable AoE defense break, which means as soon as you get her to drop and you get her built up, even at 3-star, you just put some accuracy on her and make sure she goes in the right order in an arena cleave offense, and you're going to be able to run through arena a lot faster. You're going to be able to climb a little higher, farm a little higher, and sit a little more comfortably and get better use out of your tokens than maybe you currently are, as well as helping you push through the campaign, helping you push through waves and dungeons. And again, she's nice in dungeons too because this will cycle back around. She'll put the defense break back up. In the meantime, she's dropping poisons and doing damage. So just a fantastic champ. Again, probably my favorite farmable champ. I'm a really big fan of her. She's an excellent little champ, and you can even take her into clan boss really early in the game if you wanted to, because she does have poisons in her kit. She is going to contribute, and she is going to throw up a defense break occasionally for the rest of your team to do damage as well. So again, while I wouldn't necessarily recommend building her for a clan boss or putting her, there's probably better options. She's there if you want to use her for that, but really she's going to shine for you in arena offense. And she's also going to be pretty helpful through campaign and through the dungeons on your way up to the bosses, and even with the bosses in a lot of cases. So a fantastic champ, well worth the effort to farm and build should you decide you want to. Beyond that, we have Executioner. Pretty popular champ. I'm sure you've heard his name by now at least. I personally have little experience with him. I did not really put a lot of effort into building one. I may have 5-starred him, but I did not really use him much. That doesn't mean he's not good. It just means I pulled some other things and I didn't necessarily need him for what he's good at. But we're going to talk about him anyway, because I do think he is fantastic. Attacks one enemy, 15% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn. Pretty nice. you know, first turn CC built in. This will get a lot nicer when we make our way through his kit. But you know, skilled up, it becomes a 30% chance to land a stun. So pretty nice. 1 in 3 basically is going to land a stun. Attacks all enemies, decreases the turn meter by 20%. Has a 50% chance of placing a speed debuff for 2 turns, a 15% speed debuff. So it's an AoE turn meter knockback of 20%, which is basically 1/5, and then a speed break. So he's pushing your attack bar back and then decreasing the rate at which you're going to recover it. So that's pretty helpful. That's pretty helpful. You may or may not have heard people talk about how Executioner is capable of soloing certain things like Minotaur 15, you know, some of the campaign stages he can farm, the 12-3, 12-6, he's able to farm by himself. This is part of why. But the real big thing for him is this. Once you get him ascended, places a 60% increased defense buff and a counterattack buff on this champion for 3 turns. That's a long time for that to be up. That's a long time for that to be up, and that's why he can solo things, because he's going to start hitting everybody, knocking their turn meter back, putting himself in position to get this skill up. And then the defense buff is crazy. One, because he's defense, so he's got high base defense, which means it's going to scale easy once you start to get him leveled up. He's going to be super tanky. So as long as he doesn't get hit with a defense break, you're going to be fine. What would really be amazing for this guy is if this skill scaled off defense, so that his first skill could hit a little harder, so that when he's counterattacking, for as long as he's counterattacking, he's taking people out a little quicker. But even without him scaling his damage off defense on that first skill, it is still substantial. And the potential for stuns every time he counterattacks in the waves on the way up to a boss should not be overlooked. That's a lot. There's a lot of crowd control here. There's a lot of him positioning himself to always kind of be in charge of what's going on, even if it's just him against multiple other enemies. So just for what he's capable of, I think he deserves to be ranked pretty high on the list. And again, you know, farmable, you can come in here and get you one. You can throw some gear on him and start to use him. His base speed's low, but that's kind of okay, because honestly, the longer he keeps the defense buff and the counterattack up, the better. So he doesn't really need to be super fast. You just shoot his defense up and make him tanky, and then you want him to have some accuracy so that he lands the debuffs that he's got. But that's really it. Executioner's pretty solid. And again, I'll have a how to build for him up soon. Maybe by the time you're watching this, I've already got it up. Check the description. Once I get it recorded, I'll come back and put the link in here for it. You know, we'll go a little bit more in depth about how to build him and things like that. But really a fantastic champ. Can do quite a bit. Can be aggravating on arena. Can farm for you. Can do Minotaur by himself. Can be pretty nice really anywhere you want to take him. So not a bad champ. And then at the top of our list, she is in, some of you probably already know who it is. Where is she? She's in here, really? Spirithost. I feel like she had to be at the top of the list for what she's doing, for how early in the game you can farm her, and for what she's doing for you. I feel like maybe some more inexperienced players aren't really, I feel like she might get overlooked. I feel like what she does, the weight of it might not translate. So that's kind of why I want to go over her in this video, and just for what she does and how easy she is to get and build. I feel like she has to be at the top of the list. So first skill, attacks one enemy, heals by 50% of the damage inflicted. Fine, not really a big deal. She's not really going to be doing heavy damage, so she's not really going to be healing a ton from this, but it's there and it's nice, whatever. That's not where her money is at. Ascended, she's got an AoE attack buff on all allies. That's pretty fantastic. That's going to help you push through basically everywhere you're trying to push through faster. Campaign, dungeon waves, and dungeon bosses. Decent enough in arena. Pretty nice anywhere you want to take it. Anytime you can get a nice attack buff like that, it's going to be helpful in speeding up your runs. But where her real money is this skill right here. Removes all debuffs on all allies. So from the 4th stage of the campaign in this game, you can farm an AoE full cleanse. That's pretty good. Pretty substantial. You can remove all debuffs from all allies with this skill. Then on top of it, she places a block debuffs buff on all allies for 1 turn. Now what would make her probably epic quality is if it was a 2-turn block debuffs, but it's there. So it's, you know, sometimes your guys are going to just move right out of it and it's going to go away, and that's fine because what she's doing before it is really what the key is in full cleansing. So you think about situations like Dragon, for example, where the Dragon puts like 2 poisons and an attack break on you. She's going to remove it all, right? And then he's going to have to wait until that skill comes back before he can do it again. So not only is she going to cleanse all that stuff off of you, then she's going to come in behind and put this attack buff back on your team. So rather than having to attack the dragon with the 50% attack break, she's going to put you in position to get rid of that, not have to suffer through it and wait till it goes away, and put a 50% attack buff on you, which is going to speed your runs up in Dragon specifically, but it's going to be good everywhere. There are campaign waves that are debuff heavy. There are waves in dungeons that are debuff heavy, and dungeon bosses are generally kind of debuff heavy. A lot of them like attack break, so she's going to get that off of you. And she can be support anywhere. You know, she's not multi-hitting. You could still take her to Fire Knight as your support. She's not using AoE. You could still take her to Spider as a support. She fills the role of support basically anywhere you want to take her. That AoE debuff cleanse is fantastic. And then just cherry on top, she's got a 10% speed buff in all battles. So no matter where you want to take her, you make her lead, she's going to basically add 10 speed to your whole team. So she's going to compensate for the fact that maybe earlier in the game you haven't gotten your hands on any speed boots or any speed gear or anything like that. So she's just going to kind of help you buff that speed up just a little bit to help you stay ahead of where you're going to be at currently in the game when you farm her for the first time. So she really is just a fantastic champion. She's really not that hard to build. You basically just want to worry about getting her speed and survivability up. She doesn't need accuracy. She doesn't need any damage stats. She really just needs speed and HP, to be honest. You can build her kind of like you build Apothecary. Speed and HP, and she's going to be solid. So she's relatively easy to obtain. 4th stage of the campaign, not really that hard to do. You know, sometimes it takes a while for them to drop, but you will get her eventually. And then once you get her, she's pretty easy to build. And the utility you're going to get out of her is just... it's hard to match as early in the game as you're going to have her. I don't think... I've been playing for 2.5 months. I'm level 60. I got a bunch of 6-star champs at this point. I don't think I have a champ that AoE cleanses my team. I still don't think I have that outside of having a Spirithost. I don't think I've pulled another champ that does anything like that. I could be wrong, but off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody on my team that does that. So the fact that you can just come into the campaign and grab her real quick is pretty nice. And that's going to wrap it up. That's going to be my top 5 farmable champs. I hope this was, whoever requested this video, I hope this is kind of what you were wanting. I hope it gives you a little bit of insight into who I think is worth coming in and putting some effort into. Again, there are a lot of, you know, what's the word? Something mentioned, honorable mentions. Quite a few uncommons that I think are pretty nice. Even more, there are more rares that I think are pretty nice that you could come in and farm as well. And again, I'll be showcasing a lot of those in the free-to-play account if you want to hop over and check out that series. And again, link for that will be in the description. Other than that, we're going to go ahead and wrap this video up. I hope it was helpful. If you have any comments or questions or anything you'd like to drop below, maybe there's some champs that I didn't mention and you want to show a little love to them in the comments, I'm all for that. Maybe you want to argue with me about my ranking for these champs. Fine, let's do it. But yeah, I hope it was helpful. Hope it was fun and kind of a break from the normal type of video I've been doing. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one.